Right, welcome to the revision part of chapter number 2. So, this chapter will take around probably I can say 1 hour, 1 hour 20 minutes because this is one of the lengthiest chapter which we have after chapter number 5. So, once chapter number 1, I think you have thorough revision. So, chapter number 1 is all about what? Introduction to strategic management. You have seen what is the intro, what is strategy, what is management, benefits of strategic management, corporate level, business level, functional level, then proactive, reactive, all these questions. Now, once you know what is about strategy, then what you have to do is analysis. Like there are two types of analysis you will be doing. One is called as what? External analysis. Second one is called as internal analysis. So in analysis, how many? Two parts you'll be doing. One is called as external analysis. Second one is called as internal analysis. External we will be discussing in this chapter. Internal analysis is all about your chapter number 3. So without wasting any time, chalo. So introduction, what they are saying is businesses do not operate in vacuum. Here they have said there are different markets distinguished based on their size, their type of products, markets, their geographical coverage, in which area they have covered, their legal status, like partnership, sole proprietor, company, and like because of vast organizational diversity. So they do not operate in vacuum. They require something called as what? Environment. They need to continuously interact with what is happening outside their periphery, outside their vicinity is called as what? Environment. Now, the strategic analysis, as I have discussed, see, come to page number 2.4. Upper all about introduction only they gave. 2.4, right? To form your vision, mission, goals, and objectives. So before forming their vision, mission, goals, and objectives, what you have to do? You have to do analysis. What I've discussed, analysis is of two types. One is called as external analysis. Second one is called as what? Internal analysis. Now, why do you do external analysis? Because it helps you to identify what? Something called as opportunity and threats. Always remember, opportunity and threats are not in your hand. It comes under from external. Then what is in your hand? What is internal analysis? It helps to identify something called as what? Strength and weakness. This in other terms we called as SWOT analysis. So what is it? SWOT analysis. S stands for strength, weakness, opportunity, and threat. Strength and weakness are related to internal, opportunities and threats are related to external. Right? Now, this is the diagram they have discussed, and yes, after that, right, issues to consider for strategic analysis. Say you are doing analysis, external, internal, all. There are some issues you have to consider. There are some things you have to consider before doing strategic analysis. What is it? Number one, Netflix example I'm saying, the first one is called as strategy evolves over a period of time. Always the strategy is not stagnant and the environment is also not stagnant. So earlier we used to have VCRs, then DVDs. Now do you see any CDs, then DVDs? Now you see any people using DVDs? No, right? So everyone are using pen drives which can directly connect to your TVs. Earlier we used to see lots of PCs. Now I can say PCs are there, but the laptop culture is getting so much of increase, right? So what should a business do? A business also evaluate, evolves. I mean, it has to go to the next level in their strategy. It should not constantly stay at a place. And the classic example is Netflix. Netflix, if you see, earlier they used to sell DVDs. So from DVDs, what they have done, they have moved to the OTT content. And if you see now, Netflix is producing its own web series also on the name of Netflix Originals, right? So this is what a strategy evolves over a period of time. It is not stagnant. So what you have to do, it should also be evolve over the period of time. Second one is what? Balance of external and internal factors. So always you have to have an idea what is the opportunity available outside, what is the threat which is coming. Say for example, for keypads, what is threat? The touchscreen mobiles. So like that, every for neckband earphones, what is the threat we have? The AirPods which we have. So this is how you have to check and balance between the external factors which are there, which is opportunities and threats, and internal factors which are there, which is related to strength and weakness, and there should be a balance. And who has to do? The management should consider all the strength, weakness, opportunity, the threats, and before taking a strategic decision. So this is the second point, which is called as what? Balance of external and internal factors. Third one is called as risk. So always, since strategy is formulated by who? Humans only, right? So humans are not 100% perfect. So what will happen? Sometimes you'll also face risk. So there are two types here. If you see, two types of risk. One is called as external risk, second one is called as internal risk. Again, I can say, on the base of time, they have given short time risk and long time risk. Now if you see, external, is it in your hand? No, right? It is something related to outside world. Then internal is something within your organization. So what is the first? Short time, which means earlier, like only for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 1 year, I can say short time. And it is external. Again, this is not in your hand. Errors in interpreting the environment causes strategic failure. What can I say? Example: a startup expands thinking the business for electric bikes will increase, but due to a sudden government subsidy cut, demand drops. As a result, misjudged environment leads to loss. So, if you buy an EV, you'll get a subsidy from the government. The highest subsidy is from Gujarat. So, what will happen? So you have started your EV business. So what happened? Government suddenly cut the subsidies. So temporarily the demand for the vehicles will reduce. Is that your internal risk? No, it is not related to you. So it is from outside. So that is an external risk. And this again for a short time, for probably 1 or 2 years, again the demand will be increasing for EVs. So that is the short time. Then what is the long time risk, which is not in your hand? Increase in the technology, right? So Kodak, if you see, there is a DSLRs coming, earlier ranges of so you have that films that can be inserted, and so once you films get inserted, you will get a copy outside. So when the technology is evolving towards digital cameras, the Kodak still stuck in a older film cameras. Which what happened with the technology, change in the technology is not in your hand, but upgradation is in your hand. So what happened? Ultimately it has loosened. So next is internal short time. So example, I can say, there is an online service provider company where you have an engineering company or a software solutions company. They came a client. So what happened is, you have accepted the work, but that necessary specialized persons are not available. So what will happen? 1 or 2 months you'll face an issue. That is a internal, which is short time risk. Next one is called as a long time internal risk. So example, I can say that what happened, a clothing brand, what they have done, they started with an ethnic wear and slowly the technology become outdated. So this is the risk which is there, long time risk, and also this is an internal risk. Yes. So issues to consider for strategic analysis, there are three issues. One, strategy evolves over a period of time. It should have a balance between an external and internal factors. Third one is risk. Risk is of short time risk, long time risk, external risk, internal risk. And then yes, this is the same, external analysis and internal analysis. So external helps in identifying the opportunities and threats. Next, internal is for strength and weakness. Chalo. Yes, come directly to page number 2.9. So what I have told, business do not operate in vacuum. So they need something called as what? Environment. So now we are learning something, a term called as what? Business environment. Business environment is the environment in which the business operates. Simple. So refers to all the external factors which is not in your hand, their influences or the situations which affect your business decisions, your plans, your operations is called as business environment. All the external factors which is affecting your decision comes under what? Business environment. So one of the important question, one of the very important question, what is a business environment and how does it help business? So write down here, how does business environment help business? So the question is, business environment is an external factors which affect the business decisions. So in that, the first one, like how do business environment help business? Number one, it helps in determining the opportunities and threats. As you know, opportunities and threats are something related to the external. So business environment is also an external factor which businesses helps, right? One second. Now, if you see earlier, our parents' generation used to go to shops and they used to buy items, but our generation, everything is online. So, a company called Blinkit, Zepto, Instamart, what they are doing, they are providing services at a low price and they are getting delivered to your home, right? So what happened, they are analyzing the business environment and it created an opportunity for a Blinkit kind of company. So it's an opportunity for them. How? So business environment, by analyzing the business environment, it is helping them to get an opportunity. So that is the first one. Second one, business environment helps in giving direction for the growth. Now example I can say, Tata, if you see right now, they're concentrating more on EVs. Tata Nexon EV, Tata Harrier EV, Tata Tiago, all this, they are coming a curve, coming up with the EVs. So why EVs? So they saw people slowly migrating towards diesel, say petrol, say again to EVs. So what does business environment did? It helps Tata to grow in their business segment from fifth place automobile to number one place in EVs, right? So what does it help? It gives direction for the growth. Next one is called as it helps in always continuous learning. So by seeing the environment, you know what are the customer tastes and preferences, slowly it is getting improved. So that's a continuous learning. Fourth one is called as what? Image building. What is image building? It helps then to build an image in the industry, like to get a good name in the society. Say Tatas, if I say to EV segment, what happened from number fifth place when they are in petrol and EV to number one top selling EVs in the segment? What did it help? It helps in image building. Now, as a human perspective, when someone sees that Tata is number one, so whenever you want to buy an EV, what will ultimately you go for Tata only, right? So that is called as what? Image building. Fifth one is called as it helps in meeting the competition. So you know what is your competitor doing. So for Blinkit, Zepto, they will be checking the competition, and if there is any offers which is offered by Blinkit, Zepto will also start doing it. It helps in meeting the competition. If you see, there is a classic point where probably a 6 months or a 3 months back, Swiggy came up with 99 rupees order and you get a free delivery. Earlier how much? It is 199. So now it is 99, you get a free delivery. What happened? Zomato is also checking the environment. So again they have two bound to get from Zomato again from 199 to 99. You order 99 and you get a free delivery from our app. So what happened? It helps in meeting the competition as well. One of the important question, what is a business environment? It's all about external factors which is influencing your business decision, right? And how does business environment help? Number one, it determines the opportunities and threats. Number two, it gives direction to the growth. Number three, it helps in continuous learning. Number four, it helps in image building. Number five, it helps in meeting the competition. So these are the important keywords you have to remember side headings when they ask about the question, what is a business environment and how does it help a business to grow. Now coming on to the next, which is page number 2.10, micro and macro. So analysis, we are doing external analysis. External, again we have two. One is called as micro environment, second one is called as macro environment. Now we have two, one is micro and macro. Chalo, first we'll learn what is a micro environment. Micro environment is also an external environment which is not in your hand but a slightly which is controllable. Say this is your business, an immediate peripheral aspas mein whatever your environment has, that is called micro environment, which is completely not in your hand, completely out of your hand, is called as a macro environment. So what is micro? A smaller area or a immediate periphery of an organization. What is immediate periphery? Which is within, next to the organization. Within organization is internal, immediate next to the organization is called as a external, and in that external, this is called as micro, right? What are the examples they gave? Your employees, your existing customer base, your the ways of raising a finance, your suppliers, your local community, and direct competitors comes under what? Micro environment. Competitors, suppliers, customers, intermediaries, shareholders, your employees, your media, all this comes under micro environment, which is not unimportant, but basic understanding is requirement. So next one is called as what? Macro environment. So in macro, we have two questions. So if someone is doing CMA also, one of the important, most important question is called as macro environment. See, there are two questions which you need to prepare for macro environment, right? So first one is called as elements of macro. So what are the elements which are there in macro? Second one is called as a tool to analyze macro. 90% both the answers are same, but if they ask something called as side headings will differ. If they ask something called as elements of macro, you have to write one answer. If they ask a tool to analyze macro, there is something called pestle, right? So first we will study what are the elements of macro. Elements of macro environment. First element is called as demographic environment. I think you all know a car name called Ferrari, right? Or Porsche, all this high end luxury cars. If they want to come to India and they want to set up a showroom, so clearly, again example, if Ferrari wants to come to India, they want to set up a showroom in India. Now, do you think they go for a tier 2, tier 3 cities, set up their showroom there? No, right? Why? Yes, exactly. What is there in your mind is correct. So they'll also check what is the income. They'll also check what is how much the income that the tier 2, tier 3, the average income will be very less because the IT companies are less located in those areas, right? So where will they set up? They'll first go to either Mumbai, Delhi, or Hyderabad, Bangalore, in such kind of cities they want to establish. This analysis which Ferrari is doing is obviously external environment. In that external environment, so what they're seeing the income of the people, right? So where there is a younger generation more, they wanted to go there. This analysis they do is called as what? Demographic environments. What is demographic? Demographic are something called as characteristics of the population, like their age, gender, income, and education, their how much assets each one has, what is their ownerships, the job positions, their regions, and the degree of educations. All this is called as what? Characteristics of the population. So whenever you're doing an external environment, first one is macro environment. First one you do something called as demographic environment, are the characteristics of population. Next, so whenever you're going into other country, so what you have to do, whether demographic trends will affect the size of the industry, and do we have any opportunities on threats? These two questions you have to ask. Now second one is called as socio culture environment. Now McDonald's, right? So McD, apart from India, if you go to outside India, so their beef burgers are quite famous or quite common. Do you think if they come to India, imagine McD before coming into India, if they want to sell only beef burgers, will it survive? No, right? Why? Because we worship cows as gods. So they know, and say they have changed. They have introduced potatoes. They have introduced veg and all the chicken burgers which they have introduced. This analysis for the local regions, like their beliefs, their values, all this analysis what McD done. This one is called as what? Socio culture environment. Now KFC came to India. So after coming to India, I didn't even imagine in my wildest thoughts that they'll also come up with biryani. But they came up with biryani. Why? Because Indians are more towards rice, right? So these rice items are mostly loved, and biryani is of course an emotion to all the Indians. So this type of analysis, what the McD did, KFC did, right? All these are called as socio-culture environment. So what is socio-culture? Your social traditions, your values, your beliefs in the belief systems of that particular society are called as what? Socio-culture environment. Can you change the values or the beliefs of this belief system? You cannot change. So what does business has to do? Business has to, instead of changing, they have to adopt to that particular values which are there. So if you see introduction, like whenever McD is coming to India, beef and beef products are not sold here. This is how they have marketed their selling. So third one is called as, and see this, it is difficult to change the values, but instead what you have to do, you have to adjust to the social norms and you have to do that particular business. Third one is called as economic environment. Now if someone wants to set up their new business outside their country, can they go to Sri Lanka now, or can they go to Bangladesh now? They go to Pakistan now? No. Why? Because their country's economic situation is bad. So, what is economic situation? Your country's GDP, your country's purchasing power, your country's what is their cost? If you locate a business, set up a business there, what is the cost which is there? All this comes under economic environment. Now, say guys, if there is a real estate company, there is a real estate company, they want to set up outside India some plant. So there are two options available. Imagine land rates and everything, income is also same. On one country the housing loan interest is 6%, on another country the housing loan interest is 4%. Do you think to which country this real estate company will be going? The answer will be for 4%. Why? Because the interest rates are lower and people will yes, definitely take more loans when the interest rate are lower. So this analysis which the real estate company is doing is called as what? Economic environment. The cost, the dependability, their availability, their everything related to money, debt, credit availability, whether banks can provide loans, with the debt ratio, everything what they will be checking is called as what? Economic environment. Next one is called as political legal environment. I hope you saw Dhurandhar, right? So if you see in Dhurandhar, they have clearly told how the Pakistan politics will be. Now, if someone again wants to go and set up a plant in Pakistan or a business in Pakistan, they cannot set up. Why? Because the problem with the Pakistan is there is no political stability. What is political stability? Entire 5 years, they one prime minister will not be ruling, because after 4 years, military will come and take the action. So these kind of politics is not good for a business to survive, right? So do you think that new business can go to Pakistan now? They will not go. Why? Because they have something, the issues with the political. So that the thing what they are checking is what? Political and legal environment. If you remember, uh, this Elon Musk wanted to start a Tesla in India, but it's 2 years and still the progress is not going. Why? Because the import duty is so high for Elon Musk, and he doesn't want to start Tesla in India. So this issue what the Tesla is facing is about political and legal environment. Political matlab your political stability, what is the country's law and order, everything. And next, what is the government policies, what is the taxation, everything comes under what? Political and legal environment. The next one is called as technological environment. If in the business the technology is drastically changing, so it is better not to enter into that particular business. Why? Because the investment will be usually higher. So technology changes the way how the business operates, and you should always check what is the technology which is available at that point of time, and any new technologies, whether it will be introduced or no, you have to check and you have to enter in the particular business. So what is we are studying? It's a elements of macro environment. There are 5 elements. First one is called as demographic environment, where you're checking the characteristics of the population. Second one is called as socio-culture, social traditions, values, beliefs, belief systems. So what it is difficult for a business to change, instead what you have to do, you have to adopt. Third one is called as economic environment, a country's economic situation. Fourth one is political stability, legal rules and regulations, everything. The last one is technological environment, how the technology is dependent on that particular business or the business is dependent on that particular technology. You have to check this. Now, so I have told two questions. One is elements. Second one is called as what? A tool to analyze macro environment. So what is that tool? PESTLE. P for political, E for economical, S for social, T for technological, L for legal, E for environmental. Same thing what you have studied above, but here the technological legal, there is a new factor which is added, which is called as environment. So environment, what happens, so there are some countries where it is difficult for that particular country to wastage dumping के लिए, or all this environment factors issues are there. So what you have to do, you have to also check that particular country ka environmental things and then entry into that particular country. So that is what environmental. Again, what is PESTLE? P for political, economical, social, technological, legal and environment. Political stability, economic situation, values, beliefs, belief system, technological ways, your legal, there political and legal is combined, here they have separated it, and last one is called as what? Environmental. So here they have given a question. So as per PESTLE analysis, and that's a law firm, how do you do? So yeah, this one is related to political stability, government policies, all this economic situations. So what you have to do, you have to go through what are the elements which are there. Exam mein what they'll ask is, they'll give say innovation potential comes under PESTLE mein, which you have to answer it as technology. So legal mein what do you have? Your laws, environmental laws, health, all this. Environmental related to the waste disposal, energy consumption, all this comes under environmental. So yes, moving on to the next, which is called as internationalization of business. Now, what is internationalization? From one country, you are moving to another country. These days, the businesses are not only continuing in their particular country, what they're also doing, they're also exporting to another countries. That is called as internationalization of business. So these days, it's a common trend over the last couple of decades. Why do they want to go global? Number one, in search of greater earnings and less expensive resources. A companies like Accenture, a companies like Accenture type of companies, why they're coming up and setting in India? Because India has something called as cheap labors. Here the chartered accountants, if they get 1 lakh, in US you have to pay 10-15 lakh at least, because their cost of living is higher over there. So less expensive resources. And number two, in search of greater earnings. The lesser the expenses, the greater the earnings. Additionally, expanding internationally enables a business to achieve greater economies of scale. What is economies of scale? The higher the production, the lesser cost price per unit, because the sales get improved, the cost per price unit will be reduced because the fixed cost will be reduced, and extend the lifespan of the product. What is extend the lifespan? If you know, this is a car called Kia Carnival. So Kia Carnival, this is a older 5 years, 10 years model back in US. So what should happen, like after 5 years, 10 years, they have to definitely change a model. So what will they do? They will import, they will export to another countries. Now India, this is the current model. US Carnival is this model. Now what happens after few years? This one will come to India, and again US ka Carnival mein again there gets changed. So that is extending the lifespan of the product. Now to call it as a global company, there should be some characteristics. Imagine that you started a business like a chai shop outside. Can you call it as a global company? No. Why? Because to call it as a global company, we need to have 3 C's. The first C is called as conglomerate of multiple units, when also it is called as common ownership. Like a business should have different multiple units located at different parts of the world, but still the ownership should be the same. You know this company HUL, right? So by seeing this name, what can you feel? This is an Indian company. But Pakistan also has something called as PUL, Pakistan Unilever. Africa also has something called as African Unilever. Here, which is the parent company? Unilever company. So Unilever Limited is a company. This Unilever, wherever they go, that's a common ownership which is there, and Unilever can be called as what? A global company. Second one is called as common pool of resources. Like what are the resources which the organization having? Entire every organization should use the same example. What I can say is there's a company called Volkswagen. The Volkswagen sub brands are Audi, Seat, Skoda, Bentley, Lamborghini, Porsche, Ducati, all these are owned by a parent company called Volkswagen, and these resources should be used by other companies also. So that is common pool of resources. And third one, every company under that should have a every global company should have what a common strategy. So to call it as a global business, we need to have the following characteristics, which are three. One is called as common ownership, second one is called as common pool of resources, third one is called as common strategy. Now, one of the important question, why do business want to go global? Number one, the first and the foremost reason is need to grow. Imagine if Apple is still in US, will they have a lots of sale in India? They will not have, right? So if you want to grow, you want to go global. Second one, there is a rapid shrinkage of time and distance, and if you see earlier days what they used to do, ships and all the seaways, they used to import the items. But what happened, the air cargo they have introduced, there is a reduction in the time off from one country to another country, right? So that is rapid shrinkage of time and distance. Number three, the domestic markets are no longer adequate. It is not sufficient because there is a lots of competition domestically. You have to export. Number four, when there is reliable or cheap source of raw materials which is available, like cheap labor. What did I say? Example, India mein the labor is cheap, so you can come up and set up your operations in India itself. That is also going global. Fifth one, plans overseas. They set up their plans to reduce the high transportation cost. Say every day I am exporting something to Dubai. So instead of every day exporting, what I can do, they can start the plan directly in Dubai itself. The next one, yeah, generate better sales and better cash flow. So the higher the sales, the higher the cash flows will be. These points you remember, that will be fine. The first and the foremost area is need to grow, rapid shrinkage of time and distance. So next is available of reliable source of raw material to set up a higher yes, to generate a high cash flow and a better revenue, and domestic markets are no longer adequate. These points you write, that would be sufficient. So yes, next is called as international environment basic. There are three types of international environment. Just like you have business environment, there is also something called as international environment. In that, the first one is called as multinational environment analysis. Say you want to go to other country to do the business, so you have to do international environment analysis. In that, the first one you have to do is multinational environment analysis. Keep 186 nations across. You check every nation, and in that particular nation, which nation you wanted to go. So there are some nations where Chinese nations or US nation. So in Chinese nations, what happened, they interfere with the business a lot, right? Governments will have intervenaries tendencies. So what you can do, you can avoid that particular country. Next is regional environment analysis. So you, whether you want to go to Asian region, African region, that analysis, and in that specific region, which country you wanted to go is called as country environment analysis. So there are three types of international environment analysis. One is called as multinational environment analysis, second one regional environment analysis, third one is called as what, country environmental analysis. So next is called as understanding the product and industry. So what is industry? Industry is a group of similar companies is called as industry. Example, apparel industry में H&M, Zara, all this comes under apparel. So automobiles में Tata, Maruti, all this comes under industry. So a very basic question, products, what are the products? It is either tangible or intangible. So what is tangible products? One which can be seen, which can be touched. What is intangible products? Like your services. Every product has something called as price. Next is products have certain features that deliver satisfaction. Why do you purchase any product? It will give you instant satisfaction for that. Next one is product is pivotal, which is important for business. Last one, product has a useful life. Always and always and always remember, every product has its deadline. Just like how our humans have youth phase, old phase, like that. Every product also has a useful life. That the product useful life is defined by something called as product life cycle. So every product has four phases in their life. One is called as introduction. So with the growth of time, the sales will be increasing. So introduction, growth, maturity, decline. If you see, this is a S shaped curve, so product life cycle is also called as S shaped curve. So there is four important phases of a product life cycle. One is introduction, growth, second one growth, third is maturity, fourth one is decline. In the time of introduction, we'll take an example of neckband earphones. If you remember, there is a neckband earphones that still people use, but it has been reduced. Why? Because yes, earpods or AirPods came into the picture. So introduction phase, the slow sales growth. Why? Because the product will not be known to many people. The prices will be higher. Why? Because the less the production, the cost will be more. So competition is almost negligible and the markets are very limited. So next phase is called as growth. There is a rapid market acceptance. The prices will fall, the competition increases. The third one is maturity. The growth will be slowed down and the profits become less. Why? Because there are lots and lots of competitors which are there. And finally the fourth one is called as decline phase, because some new product replaces the existing product. So what is product life cycle? It is a S shaped curve. So introduction, growth, maturity and decline. Right? Next one is called as value chain analysis. See guys, so if you see how a chain will be, like this, right? So what does value chain derives matlab? You break your entire business activities which are there into small chains, and for each chain you check if there is any value we can add on to that. So that is called as value chain analysis. What will happen? Your entire activities you have to break into small chains and you have to add value to that particular thing, which is called as value chain analysis. This value chain analysis is divided into two. One is called as primary activities, second one is called as support activities. So value chain analysis is divided into two. One is primary activities, second one is called as support activities. What is primary activity? Primary activities are inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales. Fifth one is called as service. Inbound logistics matlab, say from their raw material you'll be buying it, right? So from their godown to your godown, what is the process of getting that raw material is called as inbound logistics. Operations, which is operations, say inbound logistics may you go to China may you check all the procedures and all the small chips which are there to assembling. You'll get all the raw materials from China to India. That is called inbound logistics. And you wanted to manufacture a mobile phone. So what is operations? Everything putting under and assembling all this. Outbound logistics matlab from your factory. So where will you sell? Either in online or offline, like Big C or all this, right? So from your warehouse to their go down or their warehouse is called as outbound logistics. So once the stock is delivered to that particular sell point, so what you have to do, you have to do marketing so that you'll get a brand ambassador, the sales will improve. The last one is called as after 1 year you'll give service, till 1 year you'll have something called as service. So this is called as primary activity. So any value added in this particular activity, any chain, small things is called as value chain. And we also have this primary activities are supported by something called as support or a secondary activity. What is it? Procurement, technology development, HR management, firm infrastructure. Don't get confused between procurement and inbound logistics. Why? Because what is inbound logistics? From their warehouse or go down to your warehouse or go down. But what is procurement? Before selecting a vendor, what will you do? You'll take quotations, you'll take tenders. That entire system is called as procurement, and you require some technology, you require the manpower, and also you require firms infrastructure, which is your particular assets, is called as firm infrastructure. So there are two types of activities. One is primary activity, second one is support activity. Inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales. Fifth one is service, is called as primary activities. Procurement, technology development, HR management, firm infrastructure is secondary or also called as support activities. This is entirely related to value chain analysis. So you can go through, they have written it particularly. Next, so we have product and industry analysis. Product में product life cycle, value chain analysis. Next one is called as industry environmental analysis. All right, moving on to the next topic, which is called as industry environment analysis. Firstly, what is industry? A group of similar companies merging together is called as, not merging together, a group of similar companies is called as industry. Example, we'll say mobile industry. OnePlus, Apple, Samsung, all this comes under industry. Now, in this topic, what we are studying, the industry, how is the industry environment we are studying? In that first one is called as Porter's five force model, one of the very, very, very important question which will be asked in the examination, which is called as Porter's five force model. We'll directly go to the five force, then we'll come to this. Now, the first one is called as threat from new entrants. What is it called? Threat from new entrants. Second one is called as bargaining power of buyers. Third one is called as bargaining power of suppliers. Fourth one is called as rivalry among the existing players. And fifth one is called as threat from substitutes. What are the five? The five are called as threat from new entrants, bargaining power of buyers, bargaining power of suppliers, the rivalry among the existing players, and fifth one is called as what? Yeah, it is a threat from substitutes. We'll learn one by one competitive force each. First one is called as threat from new entrants. What is threat from new entrants? New entrants are the new competitor who is coming into the business. Example, I'll say a couple of years back, I used to travel to Bangalore from Visakhapatnam a lot. So I used to have only one option, which is Indigo. So Indigo, as you know, airlines, I used to have a Vizag to Bangalore. So I don't have an option. I don't have a competitor. Like Indigo doesn't have a competitor. What is the price they are charging is 6,500, and I have no other option to spend 6,500. But slowly, what happened is there is a airline called Akasa Air. What is it called? Akasa Air. It has been introduced. Now, if they launch again at 6,500, no one will buy because Indigo already existing market mein. So they have launched at how much? 4,500. So as a typical middle class mentality, where will you go? Of course, to 4,500 only, right? Now what happened? Indigo cannot survive with 6,500. It has also reduced its price to 4,500. Earlier, if there is a 200 flight, right, for each ticket 2,000 they are reducing, 2,000 into 200, so roughly 4 lakh or 40 lakh. So you can calculate, and that much amount they are losing. Why? Because a new entrant is entering into the market. So new entrants, always remember, they are the powerful source of competition. New entrants can reduce the industry profitability. Now what they have done, they have reduced the industry profitability, which has exactly happened with what? Geo. Jio, when they launched, what they do? Entire internet free, calls free, everything free, right? Now, what happened? They have reduced the industry profitability of the BSNL, Vodafone, Idea, and other companies, including the Airtel as well. Why? Because there is the demand will be the same, but there is a new supply. So when the demand is same, the supply will be increasing, the price will be reduced. So increase in the production capacity, increase in supply, which reduces the price and substantially erode the existing firm's market position, which has happened with the BSNL. What happened? BSNL ka share has completely gone. And new entrants are always a powerful source of competition. Important for MCQ. Underline this. What is a powerful source of competition? This threat from new entrants, because they add a new capacity along with the production range, and they throw up new competitive pressure. So what happened with the reduction in the pricing? They have come up with a new competitive source. So what happened with the existing supplier of Indigo? They have to bound to reduce the price to stay up in the competition. So this is called as a threat from new entrants. But always remember, it is not for every business, every industry, the new entrants will be common. What does that mean? Example, is it that easy for you to start right now the telecom industry? No, right? Is it that easy for you to start a airline industry, XYZ Airlines? Can you start it right now? No. On what basis you are saying no? Higher capital, higher regulations, all this, right? Now, for the threat from new entrants also, there are some things where the new entrance is not easy for them to come into that particular business. So that is the next one, which is yes. See this para. To discourage new entrants, the existing firms can try to increase the barriers to entry. What is barrier to entry? Say you're going on a road work, something road work is happening. So what will happen? They'll put up a barrier, which means they're stopping you from entering. So the existing firms are also stopping new entrants into entering that particular business. So these are called as what? Barriers to entry. The following are the barriers to entry. The first one is called as capital requirement. The higher the capital, the lesser chance of a new entrant entering into that particular industry. Can you start a mobile industry right now easily? You cannot. Why? Because you require lots of capital. Can you start a bakery right now? Yes, because the capital requirement is very less. So the first barrier to entry is called as a capital requirement. Second one is called as economies of scale. What is economies of scale? The larger the production, the lesser cost price per unit will be there. If you see Maggie, it is initially I think 12 or 14 rupees, right? Now, if you are a competitor, if you want to start an instant noodles brand, if you enter, definitely and definitely you cannot produce it for 12 rupees or 14 rupees. Why? Because Maggie is producing at a huge and huge scale of production. Say you're buying, say, what is the raw material used? Maida. So, Maida, I don't know the price, but if you are buying at a, say, you're a new competitor, you require 100 kg a day. Maximum stock you can put at your godown is 3000 kg, which is monthly. So when you buy 3000 kg, this 3000 kg is a 5-minute production for Maggie. So imagine that they are buying 3 lakh kg. Now, if they are providing you at 100 rupees per kg, do you think that Maggie will purchase at 100 rupees? No, why? Because they have a huge and huge production. So they'll be purchasing at least at 70 or 75 rupees. In this way, each and every production stage, the Maggie will be reducing the cost. That is called as economies of scale. The larger the production, the lesser price. So the new entrants will have a disadvantage of entering into that particular business because of economies of scale. Third one, when you do not show any product differentiation, say water bottle company, you are starting a new water bottle brand, everything is with the same mineral, same thing. And when you're not showing the product differentiation, so you started a water bottle brand, your bottle is there, Kinley bottle is there. Now, what will you, the general audience pick? Obviously, Kinley. Why? Because there is no product differentiation, existing brands only people will be preferring. Fourth one is called as switching cost. See, I used to work in a company called Accenture, where we have almost, say, 30 lakh employees. Now, all the 30 lakh employees, we need to communicate within each other, right? Just like you and me communicate on the WhatsApp, we need to also communicate within the business. So, we use something called as Microsoft Teams. What is it? Microsoft Teams. Now, in the time of COVID, there is a company called Zoom where we video call. So, Zoom also started with the workplace, like how you can enter into the competitor to Microsoft Teams. Now, think from the Zoom perspective. Is it easy for Zoom to enter into Accenture? Difficult. Why? Because already the Accenture employees got used to Microsoft Teams and they cannot switch to another company called Zoom. And if they switch, what should Accenture do? They have to give training to all the 30 lakh employees which are there in India. So it is an extra cost for them. That extra cost, what it will bear from one company to another is called as what? Switching cost. So that will be also a barrier to entry. Fifth barrier is called as brand identity. You remember the example water bottle just I have given two minutes back. So Kinley, why they are choosing Kinley? Because that's already a brand, and the people will be choosing a brand over the newbie. So that is called as brand identity. Next one, access to distribution channels. Reliance started a company called Campa, and Campa is finding it difficult in Andhra to penetrate in the market. Why? Because already Coke and Pepsi, if you see wherever you go, they'll have the refrigerators over there. So it is difficult for Campa to beat that refrigerators and go into that market. Why? Because already the distribution channels of Coke and Pepsi were there. Now, that is called as it is difficult for a newbie to access to the distribution channels. The last one is called as possibility of aggressive retaliation. Sometimes when there is a new entrant coming, the existing player will give new huge offers, will give huge things, and they will ultimately let the newbie close that particular business. So that is a possibility of aggressive retaliation by a what existing for the new. Now, these are called as what? Barriers to entry. So, the first one we are studying is threat from new entrants are always powerful source of competition. It reduces the industry profitability. But there are some barriers to entry into that particular market industry. So, that is in first one is called as capital requirement. Higher the capital, the less the chance of entering, because the existing firms already have an advantage of economies of scale, product differentiation. Fourth one is switching cost. So if because there is a switching cost, it is difficult for a new company to enter into that particular market. Fifth one is called as brand identity. Sixth one is called as access to distribution channels. Third one is last one is called as possibility of aggressive retaliation. Next one is called as bargaining power of buyers. Now what does that mean? Say you have started a business of millets. Okay, this is the right now trendy business, millets, all this. Now, every day you are producing 30 kgs and you're selling it in the market. So there is a company called DMart. They saw your product, they liked your product, and they have asked you, you have to supply to all over India DMart. Firstly, you will be happy. Why? Because DMart is crazy. And they have asked you to make 3 lakh kg. 330 kgs too. You got a 3 lakh kg order, right? Now, this 30 kg outside, you're selling at 1000 rupees per kg. Now, now, DMart is coming and they're ordering 3 lakh. Who will have an upper hand? You will have an upper hand or DMart will have an upper hand? Answer is DMart. Why? Because they are the huge buyer and they will be on the upper hand. Now, take the second scenario. What happened is there are lots of suppliers, hmm, and there are only two buyers. Who will have an upper hand? Obviously, buyers. Why? Because there are less number of buyers than suppliers. So, in these cases, who will have an upper hand? Buyer will have the upper hand. Then the see, when will we have a bargaining power of buyers? In three scenarios. Number one, buyers have the full knowledge of the source of products and their substitutes. When the buyers are having the full knowledge about the products, he will say that, see, this is not the pricing you will be getting, you can get at a lower cost, and they will bargain. Second one, they spend a lot of money on the industry products, that is, they are big buyers. Example, I've given you DMart. Third one, industry product is not perceived as critical to buyer need, and the buyers are more concentrated than the firms supplying, which means there are more number of suppliers, there are less number of buyers. Exactly opposite to this is bargaining power of suppliers. Now, what does bargaining power of suppliers means? When there are less suppliers, hmm, more buyers. The suppliers are less, the buyers are more. Classic example is Intel. You know a company called Intel. So for Dell, HP, Lenovo, all these companies, Intel only will be supplying their chips. Now, who will have an upper hand? Dell, HP, Lenovo, or Intel? It is Intel. Why? Because Intel doesn't have a substitute, even though they have RMD, all this, but Intel is one of the good processing unit which they can be providing. So Intel is always having an upper hand. And second, when there are less number of suppliers and more number of buyers, the products are crucial to the buyer and substitutes are not available. Second, they can erect a high switching cost, which means for a companies like Dell and Lenovo, if they are shifting from Intel to some other company, they require a higher switching cost. So what will happen? They will stay with the existing suppliers only, and they are more concentrated than buyers, which means there are less number of suppliers, more number of buyers. In these cases, what will happen? The bargaining power of suppliers will be more. Fourth one is called as nature of rivalry in the industry. It is nothing but a competition. Coke and Pepsi, Tata and Mahindra, all these are what? They are the competitors. So that is called as nature of rivalry in the industry. But in the following situations, what will we say? The competition tends to be cutthroat competition and the industry profitability is low. So the point we are studying is nature of rivalry in the industries. But under the following circumstances, what will happen? The industry profitability is very low under following circumstances, and there is a cutthroat competition. In which scenario? Number one, when there is no industry leader. If there is industry leader, the leader will decide the prices and the sub brands will be following. But when there is no industry leader, like water bottle business, what will happen? What yes, the existing players will only fight among themselves, and they will be reducing the price. There is no proper who follows uh, properly. They don't have a proper leader. So what will happen is, everyone will be trying to be a leader and they'll be doing it on their own. But if there is an industry leader, the cutthroat competition will be low. The industry profitability is also good. Second one, the number of competitors. Higher the number of competitors, the less attractiveness the industry is and more the competition is. Third one, when the rivals operate with a high fixed cost, what will happen? I think you know the basics of costing. So there is a concept called fixed cost and variable cost. Now, after particular units, if for 1 lakh units, this entire fixed cost is getting absorbed, so still there is a chance for you to produce 2 lakh more units. What will you do? You produce this 1 lakh or 1 lakh extra 50,000, 2 lakh, and you will be selling at a lesser price. When you have a higher fixed cost, what will you choose? You wanted to consume that entire fixed cost and you want to give it at a lower price. On that, again, we will have a more competition, less industry profitability. Number four, exit barriers. See guys, I've already also started last year this water bottle business. So what happened is I've invested around 3 CR. Now, what happened is, if I purchase 3 CR, if I want to sell this particular machinery after 2 months of usage, will I get 3 CR? And industry profitability, I mean, industry machinery, they have a worst thing where you can get only 1.5 CR. Now, instead of losing this 1.5 CR, what will I bound to do? I will be somehow I wanted to do the business by reducing the cost or do something, and I'll be staying in that particular business. So, the lesser chances of exiting from that particular business, the more competition will be. So the competition will be reduced when some competitors leave the market, but the leaving is difficult when the exit barriers are high. It is difficult for you to do that particular business in that industry only. And again, the industry profitability will be low and you have a cutthroat competition. Next one is called as product differentiation. When you can't show a product differentiation, what will happen again? You will be fighting for that particular customers only, and your profitability will be low. Next one is called as slow growth. If there is growth, new customers will come. If there is no growth, for existing customers only, you have to fight. So when there is slow growth, so all these are when we can say that industry has a cutthroat competition and the industry profitability is low. Number one, when there is no industry leader, the higher number of competitors, they operate with a high fixed cost. When there is less exit barriers, when there is no product differentiation, the last one is when there is slow sales growth. The last one is called as threat from substitute. It is another competitor. See, Coke and Pepsi is not substitute. It is rivalry among the existing players. But Coke and real fruit juice is substitute. Substitute means when you have a similar usage, not the exact usage, right? So that is called as substitute. When in the competition, when your competitor is providing a substitute products, what will your customer do? Your customer will be shifting from one to another. So that is called as what? Threat from substitutes. So what are the five sources of competition? It is a threat from new entrants, bargaining power of buyers, bargaining power of suppliers, threat from so rivalry among the existing players, and threat from substitutes. Now what will happen is, see, these five they have given: rivalry, threat from new entrants, bargaining power of substitutes, buyers, sellers. Now, what will you do is, step one, you identify what are the specific competitive pressures out of five. So when you're starting a business, not all five will be there. You'll see at least two or three, right? And you see how force that particular is, like it is fearful, strong, moderate, and then you do the collective strength, and accordingly you check whether you can enter into the profits or no. So step one is identify the specific pressures. Number two, check how strong, and you collectively check and decide whether you can earn the profits. If you can earn the profits, then only enter into that particular industry. If you do not, on the paper, you cannot see that you cannot get profit, it is not suggestible to enter into that particular industry. This is how the Michael Porter's five force model we can be using. So next one is called as attractiveness of the industry. This basic thing you can learn. See, attractiveness, there are couple of points you need to see, like the industry's growth potential, whether the industry in future can be growing well. Example, cable TV. Now, do you think that in future cable TV will be going well? No, right? So the industry's growth potential is low. Like that, you have couple of factors where you have to check and finally take a decision whether this particular industry is attractive industry or non-attractive industry. If it is an attractive industry, you can enter into that business. If it is a non-attractive, you cannot enter into that particular business. Now, next one is called as experience curve. See guys, so you started with SM revision, chapter number 1. So first day, you took around 5 hours. You saw the revision video, you have done the questions, everything. Now, in the same chapter on day 2, will you take again 5 hours? No, right? Because you got an experience, you might take 4 hours. Same chapter day 3, 3 hours. Same chapter day 4, it is around 2 hours. And after that, you will take 1 hour. And this 1 hour will be constant because 1 hour is minimum necessary for you to revise the chapter number 1. Now, what is this called? Once the time goes, time passes, and you're doing the same product repetitively or same work repetitively, what will happen is the time per unit will be reduced, and ultimately the cost will also be reduced. How the cost will reduce is, say you appointed a Nepali guy, hmm, and you're paying him per day 1,000 rupees. Now the same person is manufacturing 1 unit a day. After 7 days, again his salary will be 1,000, but he is doing 2 units now a day. So what happened? Instead of 1 unit, he is producing 2 units. Labor price per unit is 1,000 rupees per unit in this, and in this it is 500 rupees. Now 500 rupees cost saving is there, right? So this is called as experience curve. The more and more and more units you produce, the cost to price per unit will be reducing. So this is called as what? Experience curve. As the business grow, they gain experience. Experience, it's definitely an advantage over the competitor in the longer period, which is called as experience effect. If you see, the larger the number of units, the cost price per unit is what? It is slowly get reduced and it will be constant from here. So this is called as what? Experience curve. Next one is called as value creation. See, value creation. Why will people buy iPhones, iPads, Apple, all this, or Apple products? Why do people buy? Because they say, the customers say that they have given good value for the price we have paid. That is called as value creation. Value creation is what SM says is, you create an additional value to the customer so that the customer is okay to pay that extra price for the value which has been created. Now, if I say, why do people buy Apple? Say for security, right? Now, zero is a cost of product making. Okay. Now say this is 20,000 is a, say iPhone 17 के लिए 20,000 is a price or the cost which has been incurred for the Apple. Now, what is that extra X factor where people will buying the Apple? It is the security. Now, for security, what is the cost of value creation? The security is the value. Now, what is a firm's cost to create that particular security? It might be, say, for our easy purpose, I'm saying 5,000 rupees. Now, what is the total price or cost which will happen to Apple, it is 25,000 rupees. This is the cost. This is the firm's cost to create that value. So it is value creation, 25,000. Now, what is price? Price is the firm's cost of value creation, which is the total 25,000 plus profit, which is nothing but the margin, is called as what? Price. Now, say this is 60,000. Okay. Now, for the extra value to the customer, what we are providing the security, Apple is charging 15,000 rupees extra. Now, this is called what is customer willing to pay? That extra 15,000 for the security we have created. Now, this plus 15,000 is the selling price, which is 75,000. Now, what is this? Firm's profitable pricing brand. Now, what happens? So instead of 25,000 plus 50,000 profit in total, is it 60 plus, yeah, 70, this 25,000 minus 75,000, 50,000 is the profitable pricing band of a what? Apple. Now, take the cost of the product. What is that extra cost incurred to purchase this particular, to create that particular value? That is called as price. Plus, for what the customer is willing to pay that extra amount is called as value to the customer. So this will be the total. So what is SM saying is, what is the cost to create that particular value creation? 5,000. What is the extra amount you're charging from the customer? 15,000. What is the net additional profit you're getting? 10,000. So you create a value of a product in such a way that customer is okay to pay that particular extra amount. That is called as what? Value creation. Next one is called as market and customer. Simple. What is market? Market is a place where the buyers and sellers meet. This is your plus one, plus two syllabus. So market is a place where the buyers and sellers meet. Customer is the one who is purchasing that particular product. Consumer is the one who is consuming that. Ultimately, at the end, who is consuming is called as a consumer. So market is a place where buyers and sellers meet. You have an online market, you have an offline, so all this comes under market and customer. This is a very, very, very basic thing you can go through. So next we have a customer. Again, what is customer? Customer is the one who buys the product. What is the difference between a customer and a consumer? Consumer is the one ultimately who consumes that particular product. Now, how to analyze this customer? See, customer analysis, how you can do? You can do customer surveys and take the customer data, you position it accordingly, develop the strategies for the particular customers, and then act accordingly. Next one is called as customer behavior. Now, guys, see, if you want to buy a particular product, now, say on the hot sun, this May, you are going on a road by walk, afternoon 12 o'clock. You're walking from 2 kilometers, you couldn't find a kirana shop or normal shop anywhere. So after 2 kilometers, you found a finally shop where in the refrigerator you're seeing the water bottle. So you, what will you do? You immediately take that water bottle and drink. Now, if is someone else influencing this decision, or you yourself has taken that water bottle decision? You yourself, right? So this is called as customer behavior, which is internal influence, which means no one will influence your psychology. You yourself will be buying that particular product. Now, you see this doll. This is called Labubu. So Labubu, what happened is Chinese company, Hong Kong company. So they have given this to the all the influencers. What influencers did? They have hanged it to their handbags and they have started making the reels. Overnight, he become millionaire. Why? Because all the people who saw the Instagram reels, they wanted to buy that, right? And if you see that Harry Potter also the same strategy followed by this Kinder Joy. So Kinder Joy, if you see, they have given small Harry Potter toys in that, and people started collecting it. Now, because of FOMO, you don't actually want the Kinder Joy, but you want to buy it. Why? Because of the external factors. It might be the advertisement, it might be the Instagram reels, all this. So these are called as external influence. And customer behavior is of two types. One is called as external influence. Second one is called as internal influence. External influence matlab some other advertisements, they are impacting you. What is internal? You yourself taking the decisions and buying that particular product. Now, all the external factors and internal factors will help the decision making. Once the customer takes the decision, he purchases it, and post to purchase, if he likes the product, he will recommend it to someone else. If he doesn't like the product, he will not recommend and he will not buy that particular product. So this is decision making. You find a problem, search for alternative, and you make a final choice. And post decision, if is satisfactory, he will be recommending to other persons. While he is not satisfied, he will not recommend it to others. Understood? So this is about a customer and market. Next one is called as competitive strategy. See guys, recently, you know what happened with Indigo. There is a pilot shortage, and what happened? The entire airline industry got abrupted. So it is always and always good to have a competition. What is competition? The competitors will fight for the same set of resources and customers. So same set of resources hai, customer hai, all the competitors will be fighting for that particular same set of resources and customer. It is always good to have a particular competitor. When the competitor is there, we will try to give it the best quality to the buyers. And always when there is a competition, you need to have something called as competitive advantage, which means performing better than your competitor. Now, one of the important topic which is called as competitive landscape, mandatory question for every 2 3 attempts. So what is competitive landscape? You identify and understand your competitor. Say for Maggie, is Maruti Suzuki a competitor? No. Why? We will study that particular thing in the competitive landscape. First, you need to identify who are your competitor, and then you understand who are your competitor. That is called as competitive landscape. What is competitive landscape? Identify your competitor and understand your competitor. What is their strength, weakness, all this. Competitive landscape requires something called as competitive intelligence. So what does competitive landscape requires? It requires a competitive intelligence. Now, how do you understand the competitive landscape? There are particular steps to identify your competitor. Number one, you have to first identify who is your competitor. Now, for IP, they're in same industry. What is the competitor? Maggie will be the competitor. So you have to identify who are the competitors, like Maggie, Top Ramen, all these are the competitors. Second one, you have to understand about the competitor. What is their product and what is the services they are offering? That is the second step, which is called as understanding the competitor. Identify the competitor, understand the competitor, determine the strength of the competitor. What is the strength of Maggie? 2 minutes, all this. No. You know what is the strength of Maggie? It is a distribution system. Wherever you go in India, be it mountains, be it hills, be it anywhere, beaches, you can find something called as Maggie, because the distribution system is so good that anywhere you go, you can find Maggie. So that is the strength of the Maggie, which is there, right? So it is the determining the strength. What is their financial position? What gives them the cost and price advantage? What move they can do next? What is the distribution system? How is their HR there? All these are strength. Next, you also need to identify what is the weakness of the competitor, and that weakness you need to take, and you have to take advantage over their weakness which is there. And the last one, you put all the information together. So this is called as what? Steps to identify the competitive landscape. Firstly, what is competitive landscape? Identify and understand your competitor, which can be done in 5 steps. Number one, you identify the competitor. Number two, you understand the competitor. Number three, you determine the strengths of the competitor. Number four, you determine the weakness of your competitor. And number five, put all the information together. The last topic of the chapter is called as key success factors. Case of key success factors. See, any business, if you see Zudio is also a business. Why will people go to Zudio? Low cost, styling, availability, all this, right? All this you're telling for a Zudio, these are nothing but key success factors. What is for Apple? Security, camera, all this. So key success factors is nothing but what are the core strengths of that particular business so that they are getting success over their competitors is called as key success factor, and it is also called as KSF. Now, how can you identify KSF of the particular business is now choose the first point. Why is consumers choosing your brand over the competitor brand, which means what is the proper attribute for you to get your particular sales? Is it styling? Is it low cost? And second one, how you are giving the this competition, whether do you have a better human capital, better quality of the product or cost of service, all this. What is your capability, which is there, which is also called as competitive capability. And the last one, whether this competitive capability is sustainable matlab for longer term it is there or no. If these three terms are there, then it can be called as what? KSF is a key success factors, are the prerequisites for industry, which is required for the industry success, and you should have the own set of competitive abilities when compared to the competitor. So what are they called as key success factors? How do you identify? Number one, yes, on what basis customer is choosing you? What are the competitive capabilities you are having? In that competitive capabilities, whether you can sustain it for a longer term. All these are called as KSF. You can go through. So this is your entire chapter. See, one of the easiest chapter, one of the scoring chapter. You can aramse get 12 to 14 marks in the CA inter exam final examinations. So what you have to do is thorough revision. After this, you have to practice the questions, and it is mandatory for you to writing practice should be there. So we roughly took around 1 hour change and we have completed the chapter. So what you'll do is you again take topic by topic and complete the entire chapter. See you with the chapter number 3.